Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. I'm Han, and today plant introduced is one of the popular indoor plant, golden cane palm. Golden cane palm botanical name is Dipsys, and there is a couple of reasons that this plant is quite popular to people. First, it can grow pretty well at outdoor or indoor, both sides. Second, it tends to grow fast, so can have tall and bush plant in a quite short time compared to other palms, which is Cantia palm or rapis. And third, this is kind of pet-friendly plant, so if you live with puppy or cat together, maybe it can help you to reduce some stress. The character of this plant would be it entirely has a feather shape. Compared to other palm tree, it has more like a little more yellowish golden color, and also because of it's very flexible. Even you grow it outdoor, and because of the strong wind or traffic, it doesn't really easily get damaged. So because of that reason, it gives you a lot of liberty to play around at the house or even at the balcony. But based on what I experienced, it's kind of love to grow in bright area, but also at the same time, if it's too intense light, I found it couple of foliages tends to be burned. Of course, if the plant is constantly growing on that environment, later on it will be not gonna cause much issue. But if you have been growing this plant at indoor for a while or in a nursery which is like covered with a shade, then maybe a couple of days and couple of months you will see the foliage being burned. However, still this plant is very adjust well in outdoor bright light, and also on an indoor, if you're growing indoor, like you can place, except for the lower light position, you can place medium light or bright light area. Even actually I placed couple of golden cane palm at Tommy's Cafe at Gosford as well. Like some of the palms I matched with the basket because I thought this kind of like vibe is like matching very well with this, like how to say that basket things. So because of that color of the palm tree, it's also matching well with kind of yellowish spot, and of course it's go always well with a white color pot as well. So for the caring tip, if you're growing outdoor and indoor, it's gonna be require different care tips. When I used to work in a nursery, when we are growing the plant outdoor, we mostly give water once in a day to once in a 2 days, like just because if the plant is sitting outside, there's so much wind is blowing, and then the evaporation is happening, and also it gets so much sun exposure as well. So those things actually make the soil dry quite much quicker than when you grow the plant indoor. So including the balcony, if you're growing this plant outdoor, probably I'll say watering is like way much often. I wouldn't mind. I don't think it's gonna be a big problem that even you give once in 2 to 3 days, as far as it's being drained well. And about the sunlight, why this like if you put outdoor, I still suggest to placing this one in a area which gets some morning sun, not really strong intense afternoon sun, cause that's gonna cause the foliage burn. But again, once this plant adjusts on the environment, it will start to grow again, as which is I can prove the footage of the Tommy's Cafe. However, just because the foliage has become burned, so it could be not as pretty as what you're thinking. On the other hand, when you're growing indoor, it does like require more bright to medium light condition, because anyway this plant actually love sunlight, so it's recommended to put bright to medium light condition. And about the watering, it doesn't really require as often as when you're growing outdoor. Generally, what I do is that I give water about once in 5 days to 7 days, depends on the climate or temperature. It's getting warmer and warmer, I tend to give once in 5 days because it's grow pretty much actively and then it's kind of absorbing the water quite quick. However, if it's like getting colder and become winter, reducing the water cycle. When it comes to the watering, like many people are confusing about overwater term. And as far as what I understand when I talk with the customer, what do they think about the overwater is like literally amount of water. But actually, as far as the plant is being potted, which has drainage hole, then honestly the amount of the water doesn't really matter about how affect of the plant. I mean, what I'm saying is like, of course if it's too small amount, it's definitely gonna affect because it's not gonna be enough water. But what I mean is like either you give sufficient water or you give so much heaps of water, because anyway the excessive water is gonna be drained through the drainage hole. However, what I think about the most important thing is that about how often you water, and also if when you're growing the plant indoor, especially in a pot, you need to be a little bit more mindful about whether the plant is sitting water damped soil or not. So I recommend after water, let it drain enough and then put it in the pot again. When it comes to the watering, generally I prefer to give water with using a shower with a hose, because generally if we give water with a hose while we are giving water on the base, not only for that one, we just can wash the foliages as well, which is can remove all the dusties, and then it will help it to absorb the sunlight. If you don't have a shower, then with a watering can, just give gently water all around. If the water is like this, coming out straight away, even though I just poured it, water just came through straight. That means in the soil the water pots have been developed, which means pot is being impacted, or when the soil is being dry so much, or hasn't been cared properly, or if the soil is poor condition, then like generally when the soil is like having a crack, and even we give water, actually the water is like before being absorbed on entire soil, it's being just going through all the way to water pots. Because of the reason, even we water the plant, actually the plant wise is like didn't get water properly. So to prevent the situation, generally is when you're giving water without shower, even with a shower, when you're giving water, it's better to place the saucer at the bottom, and then you can just pour the water on the saucer. Some people actually suggest to do that, but for me it's always just put the saucer at the bottom and then give the water from the top several way. In that way, not only for bottom, it can help it entire soil to be wet enough. So again, like give water about a couple of times, repeating like 2 to 3 times, and then let the saucer fill up with the water for a while, or the soil is absorb enough water. If there's still have excessive water in the saucer, then that one is literally means excessive water. So those water is just chuck it and then put it in a saucer and then put it in a pot. Then your plant should be okay with the watering. Regarding the fertilizer, plant is like not literally fussy. Like it's like you can give pretty much indoor plant purpose fertilizer or just outdoor plant purpose fertilizer. But for me, I generally prefer to use indoor plant purpose fertilizer, which is from the Osmocote brand. Or on the other hand, you can use like environmental friendly fertilizer as well, like which is like worm casting, or you can use coffee bean as well. Or if you purchase a plant from Tommy's, then you don't really need to worry about it, because I generally put the fertilizer and then give it for free. And about the fertilizer, obviously during the warmer season, the plants tend to grow more active, so that's why it's better to give fertilizer quite often. I prefer to give fertilizer once in a month. In that way, it can help it to grow faster and faster and more healthier. But on the other hand, during the winter time, I will cut down to once in 2 months or once in 3 months, because they are not really growing. About the repotting or dividing, propagating, those things I don't think really need to mention about right now. But if I just talk about it, generally repotting is you don't really have to do too often. Mostly recommend to do repotting in spring when the plant is growing actively. Generally for repotting, prepare one size bigger than what the plant is potted. In Australia, mostly the pot size is like 70 ml. I think so, 70 ml. Yeah. I don't really remember now properly because I quit quite a long time ago. So I think as far as I know, like 70, 100, 120, 180, and the 200, 250 ml, and 300 and 400 ml, something like that. Of course, it's in an inch. Probably 200 ml, 250 ml is 8 inch, 10 inch, and 400 ml is 12 inch or something like that. So generally there is a size is different and currently this plant is potting in a 200 ml pot, and then all you need to do is trying to, instead of getting a 400 ml pot straight, it is always just better to repotting in just one size bigger, because if the pot is too big, then there's a chance that plant is like kind of struggling to absorbing the water as well. And also in the soil wise, it's also not good for. But what I can say is it's always better to get one size bigger, and then from Bunnings or any nursery somewhere, we need to just put the soil in first, a little bit, put the plant in a pot as well. In that way you can check the level, and if it's enough, get rid of the pot, put the plant, and then put the remaining soil. Sometimes help the plant to root it a little faster. We often break the root ball at the bottom, but if you do that, it's good. But like I'll say, it's not like even you didn't do it, the plant's gonna die. It's not like that. That's what I've seen from the nursery so many times. So yes, that's all about the repotting. Generally, if the repotting is finished, I prefer to give water. The reason is because while the water is going down, it's raining. The water is like kind of taking the small particle of the soil with the flow. It's helping to more establish more work. And not only for that, while we are doing repotting, obviously the root ball is like being exposed on the air, and then it's being evaporated, and then the tree or the plants have been stressed. So that's why it's better to give water one more time. And this is not 100% sure is it right or not, but as far as I know, and as far as what I've done is like after the repotting, I just give fertilizer to help it to establish it more quicker. And that's what I've been seeing in nursery as well. Extra tip for the carrying this plant is like probably it's better to wipe the foliage like once in a week or once in 2 weeks. Generally, many people are busy. That's why I was saying if you have a shower, it's good because all you need to just showering, and whenever you once you're showering, you don't really need to wipe the foliage. And right now, let's just dig in a little bit more deeper with this plant. So right now, this plant is like it hasn't been watered for about a week, and then actually this is quite dry condition. The reason of how I can guess is the stem is a little bit more wilted, like more spread, and also you can see there are some dried foliages. Actually, this is one of the plants that my customer was asking like to take care of it. That's why I brought it over and then trying to film it now. So whenever there's a dried foliage, you just can pull it or you can cut it off like this, that's the most recommending thing I'll say. On the other hand, like instead of that, you just can pull over, cause you can get rid of with pulling it out. But the thing is, even you're trying to pull out, it's not really super easy. And also, like while we are doing this, we can break this new branch. Then it's gonna be massive loose. So generally, I always prefer to, instead of doing this, just better to just cut it off. Then later, anyway, it's gonna be so. Later on, there is a time that we can get rid of it easily, but doesn't really have to forcing it to remove this one. Like this. If it's dry like this, then you can pour over like that. But unless it's really being dried out, I don't really recommend to do it. And it's kind of dry. One of the symptoms that it's showing is actually the end of the tip is become dry like this. Like you can see, and at the end of the foliage is being dry. But even though this is happen in the plant, it doesn't mean that the plant is not healthy. Sometimes when the plant is growing in the slightly dry than when it's used to grow, then it's also kind of happen, or those things are happening in the several reasons. So actually that doesn't mean that your plant is not healthy. But if you really don't like to see those things, what I can suggest is like just can cut it off. And of course you can get rid of entire foliage as well, but whenever it's happening, if you remove entire foliage, it's become like looks like it becomes skeleton. So instead of that, what I can do is grab a sharp scissor, and then grab the foliage and then just tip off in an angle. Then it's actually very similar with the what it looks like in original. Also, we can maintain the plant as bushy as before. So yes, that's pretty much everything for about the golden cane palm. I wish this plan is helpful for you to grow your golden cane palm. And yes, that's pretty much everything. Okay, then thank you for watching. And if you want to see my other plants growth record or or other indoor plant care tips, then you can follow my Instagram or YouTube channel. In the way, you can get notification as well. Okay, then thank you for watching, and I will see you later.